Well, welcome. Once again, we're back. We are back. It's been a short little while only 2 weeks, but that's a good while. We got the WSeries cap on. That means we are going to be talking WSeries, everything that you need to know getting into this week. Welcome to WSeries Breakdown presents Countdown to Lights Out. And why we're doing Countdown to Lights Out this week? Well, they're in France. Everybody made it safely to France for the French Grand Prix. Tomorrow are the for F1, it's the press conferences, the dumb old press conferences where they get asked a lot of cheap questions and don't answer them half the time. And then the real series before that, F2 and F3, and probably WSeries. Well, yes, WSeries, but probably F3 are there. F2 for sure are on their way. Should be very, very fun. I'm excited. I'm excited for the race. I'm excited for everything. I believe they anticipated a race at Le Castillet their first year. WSeries did, but ended up racing there this year. So very, very exciting. Much to talk about. Of course, the biggest story that we're kind of gonna jump right into as we kind of pause this music. It's kind of hearing a little bit of it's kind of shocking. So the WSeries did not start off where you could earn super license points, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was implemented either closer to the end of the year or closer to 2021, where you could get super license points since they were behind, backed by F1. So that was a big thing, is getting super license points for these drivers, collecting them to move up. As Formula 4, the regional series in the United States under them, or underneath, even F4 British, you were able to earn those points. And so that was, of course, always a big thing. You weren't enough points to upgrade your card, to upgrade your license all the way until you get that whatever super platinum license. So that was always, of course, a big thing. What's up, Harm? Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody in chat once again is doing fantastic. Yeah, we start off with this big story. Like I said, with WSeries kind of implementing that was a big thing. Jamie Chadwick, of course, ends up winning the 2021 season by a good amount. She ends up winning it by sweeping the final 2 races, as it was supposed to. If there was going to be a different champion, it had to be the opposite, where where Alice Powell were to win both those races, and Jamie were to do about as bad as Alice Powell were to do. So there were a whole. Basically, it was just a very exciting season, but Jamie Chadwick was able to get super license points through there and won, races. Well, all of a sudden, coming into 2022, she's not earning any more super license points. She's not racing in any other racing series or disciplines backed by the FIA besides the WSeries. And they have blatantly said, no, she's not earning any super license points, which is crazy. In the great words of Taylor Twellman, what are we doing here? What are we doing? So what is she doing there? They've got to, WSeries need to figure out what they have to do to get her out of this series. She does not belong in that series anymore. She didn't belong in that series after she won it the first time. She belongs to be in an F3 car. She showed that she had talent in Formula Regional Europe, which was her next step. Because it's basically the same car. So I mean, I don't know what the deal was in that whole thing or what the deal is for her. This is the crazy part. How is she being able to stay motivated through all of this? Being able to say, "Hey, I I'm not collecting any more points, but I'm still gonna I still have one goal, and that's to win this championship." And that's crazy to note. You know, that's something that I would love to ask, or love somebody in the media to be able to ask her, being like, there's talks that you're not gaining any more super license points. How are you being able to stay motivated and fight for another championship, even though it's just in W Series and you haven't been able to, per se, move up to a different series, where this is what that goal for the W Series was, to move drivers up to a different series. So I mean, that's a really good question to ask, especially her, because this is just, to me, um, if I'm her, yeah, I'm like, what am I doing here? Why should I even try to race? Because at this point, it's just a repeat cycle of, oh yeah, I'm just gonna race to race, but I'm not gaining anything from this. I've basically already learned all of this. It seems pointless for her to be there. It seems pointless for her to just, yeah, dominate like she is. I know that sounds a little harsh or whatever, but she she's not gaining the one thing that you're coming there to race for. Sponsorships? Well, okay, there's multiple actually. Sponsorships is one major thing. And to put more points on your license to go to the next series, to go to that next chance, unless she already has all of her allocated points that she's supposed to get. That would be a different story. That would be something else, and interesting to see what, the say or the consensus would be on that. I mean, we all know that's where Jamie Chadwick's at. She deserves to be in the next series up, at least in F3, because now she would get the taste of, how does more downforce feel like? How does DRS feel like to try and overtake somebody as well with Arthur Leclerc? I think, yes, she's up in the age where she could definitely kind of forego that series and go to a different series like Formula 2, but that would be very difficult for her to even get a ride there. Then it goes back to money, sponsorships, and rides, and how that's already pretty much full. We don't know who else is going to be moving up in the ranks here soon for the W Series, or not even W Series, but just in general from Formula 3. We already had Williams driver Logan Sargent move up in Formula 2 and is destroying all expectations. So then you think about another Williams driver, which is Jamie Chadwick. Does Williams have a spot for her to move up in? And does she have enough money, or even a single sponsor to help out one team that, can back Williams in a sense? Now, we all know Formula 3 teams have about 3 cars. It kind of stays the same way like it did in the Formula Regional to Formula 4, where there are more than basically even more than 3 teams in those lower series. So it's a very, very difficult thing to see how much this driver deserves to move up and can't, because nobody's offering her a ride, and because the pandemic screwed everything up for her trajectory. Literally, her trajectory was up. I remember watching her in Formula 3 or Formula Regional Europe races a couple of times when they showed it on ESPN Plus, which is the United States version of, like Sky Sports Plus. Um, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to a lot of just racing fans in general. I'm not even a huge fan of her. I'm just a fan of the W Series, but you can tell she doesn't deserve. She doesn't belong where she's at right now. She belongs at the next level. Again, at the next level. I'm not saying she doesn't belong in racing. No, 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 no. I'm saying she does not belong in the W Series because she is better than the level of talent that is at the W Series at the moment. The only driver that I would even say is remotely close would be Pulling and Powell. Pulling and Powell, they work as a team. They're the ones that are mainly on the podium more than she is on a consistent basis, let's say, because we all know what has happened to the Finn in the W Series. Kind of blanking on her name right now, which I normally don't do with W Series drivers, but yeah, she could be at that same level as Jamie Chadwick, but has been so inconsistent. Has made too many mistakes on her own. Even Alice Powell, I would say, making mistakes, but that's the learning process of the W Series. Nobody else has a championship from this series except for her. So it's just very difficult to see. She just doesn't belong in the W Series and belongs somewhere else because I don't know. If you're not gaining super license points for the next series, at that point, why even bother? Why even bother racing? I know every single chance that you get to race another race, you learn a lot more. You learn a lot more about the car, the engineering side, and things like that. And I'm sure other drivers have talked to her about that, like the likes of Saber Cook. I bring her up because of her knowledge about her engineering side of things, bringing that to a race car, but also with that comes, you're still a racing driver. You're in the car to race. You're not in the car to be that engineer. So you might overthink a couple of things normally that you don't per se. So yeah, it's just. I guess it's still good for Jamie Chadwick to be in the W Series, even though I feel like she's learned everything she could possibly learn from that series. But we'll see what happens in the next realm of races. We got Le Castillet, France, coming up at Paul Ricard. After that, it's Hungary, so back to back, and then it's summer break again. Not only for W Series this time, but also for F1, F2, F3. All those drivers will get a good, relaxing month off, I believe, of August. And they'll come back like right at the end of August to Spa-Francorchamps, which, let's be real, Spa-Francorchamps will be taken off the schedule next year because they just can't get that track right. That's another conversation for a different day because, well, it's just an unsafe racetrack. But I digress. We move on. For F1, F2, F3, that's their next track is Spa. Then after that is Monza, Italy. After Monza should be that circuit in the orange place, which is Circuit Zandvoort. After Circuit Zandvoort should be Japan, and that's where the W Series, I believe, comes back. No double header, but they do come back, I believe, to Japan. Will be their next race after Hungary. After Japan will be Austin at Circuit of the Americas, USGP, and then the doubleheader in Mexico if they make it to Mexico. And if we don't have another variant, that would stop that from happening. That's all that. That's the W Series schedule from here on out, and also just the schedule in general for Formula One, Formula Two, Formula Three, and yeah, should be interesting to see. Now moving on, like we said, to the latest news from the W Series. Chadwick chases 7 wins as W Series makes French debut. So this is going to be an interesting story, basically. We all know Jamie Chadwick, like we just talked about, is good enough to make it 7. But this is a new track for a lot of drivers. The only drivers that really have experience here is Beitske Visser. Visser being in the LMP2 car, being able to run here in practices, and also having good teammates like Sophia Flores to be able to help her out with driving this track. Look for Beitske Visser to be that one to watch out for because she has the most experience on this racetrack, in my opinion. 75 days, 13 hours, 25 minutes, win the light at the end of the circuit. Paul Ricard's pit lane turns green this Friday to commence W Series practice. Don't know why they're saying 75 days, because it's literally like 3 days. It's kind of wrong, but I guess when they took that picture, that was how long it was. Point is, we'll skip all that. So, oh, yeah, okay. Well, let's start this over. 75 days, 13 hours, 25 minutes. Win the light at the end of the circuit. Paul Ricard's pit lane turns green this Friday to commence W Series practice session for the 5th race of the 2022 season in southeastern France. That is how long it will have been since Jamie Chadwick overtook Emma Kymäläinen for the lead of the season opener in Miami, USA. Got it. And we all know Emma Kymäläinen, again, we go back to Miami, had the lead of the race very late, had an opportunity to keep it, and was offline when she restarted and locked up her brakes. Probably had dirty tires or a little bit cooler brakes. And Jamie Chadwick kept her head down, knew exactly what to do, held the line, got by Emma Kymäläinen, and then Emma Kymäläinen lost the podium by getting a little loose and spinning out. Then in the next race after that, did the same thing in race number 2, getting off the podium. So this championship could be a lot different if not only Emma Kymäläinen had won the race, but a lot of those mistakes weren't made by Kymäläinen, to be exact. And then we go back to Silverstone, and that was interesting. Again, Kymäläinen could have been off the podium, or could have been at least 3rd place. Should have been 3rd place. I still in disagreement with everybody saying that it was, blatant and heavy pulling's fault. I think that's a complete racing deal, and Abby Pulling didn't necessarily need to give the place back, but felt like she did. But moving on. It's those mistakes that make me think one driver deserves to move on from the series, and another driver still needs a little bit more experience in the series to get everything down to where, they're perfect and leading by 19 freaking seconds. That's when you know that it's a perfect race in mixed conditions, too, where Jamie even gained time at Silverstone. So we're getting a little off topic, but let's see what they had to say. This was written by W Series. Don't know who wrote it, but W Series Media at least wrote it, and I will give them full credit for this article. Jamie Chadwick followed up the dramatic initial victory with 3 dominant lights to flag wins in Miami, Barcelona, and Silverstone, topping all 7 W Series sessions, including a practice and qualifying along the way, to give her a maximum 100 points so far this term and a commanding 47-point lead. Over nearest challenger Abby pulling in these championship standings with 6 races remaining. Jamie will go for her 7th straight W Series race win, a run of success dating back to October 23rd, 2021 in Austin, Texas, USA at Circuit of the Americas, where she was just able to get the job done and get the win. But this weekend in Le Castillet, which it lies approximately 31 miles, 50 kilometers east of France's second most populous city, Marseille, the race in support of the Formula One Grand Prix de France 2022 is the first of back-to-back W Series events, the 6 race back-to-back W Series events. The sixth race of the season takes place at the Hungary next weekend, July 29th through the 30th, which conclude the International Single-Seater Motor Racing Championship for Women Drivers European races for 2022 ahead of F1's traditional summer break in August. This will be W Series' 15th race in Europe, but first in France. And while there are no French drivers among the 18 who represent 10 different nations on this year's grid, several of the class of 2022 are familiar with the 5.842 kilometer, 3.63 mile circuit Paul Ricard, which hosted its first F1 Grand Prix in 1971. Just putting a pause on this story, I just want to say Circuit Paul Ricard, in my opinion, is a terrible racetrack. The track is just there. Nobody truly knows where the first turn on the backstretch is, unless there are markers and cones blocking off the sides that you're not supposed to go through. It doesn't make any sense. Why make a racetrack like that where it's got 50 different configurations in one spot? It's just my gripe with it. That's just my only gripe with it. But yeah, moving on. Jamie competed there in the Formula Regional European Championship in 2020. Finishing all 3 races inside the top 10, Belen Garcia has contested 5 races at Paul Ricard, 3 in the 2019 F4 Spanish Championship, which teammate Nerea Marti also took part in, and 2 in last year's Formula Regional European Championship. Bijtske Visser raced there in the Formula V8 3.5 series in 2014 and 2016. And in the European Le Mans Series in 2020. Abby, Fabian Volven, and Emilie de Hughes have tested at Paul Ricard. I'm sorry, which Abby? Huh? That shouldn't be allowed. In journalism, when you know that you have 2 Abbeys on the grid, you say their last name the first time that you mention them. So I'm guessing it's pulling because they haven't mentioned Eaton in this article. Most likely you put the last name. That's how you're supposed to do journalism. Oh my gosh, this is a confusing article. It will be a home race of sorts for British pair Abby and Alice Powell, who are both members of the BWT Alpine F1 team, which is owned by French automotive company group Renault. This year, Abby joined Alpine's Academy and affiliate program, for which Alice is a talent identification and development mentor. Alice has a long-standing affiliation with the team and, like Abby, lives a few miles away from Alpine's factory in Enstone, Oxfordshire. Last year's WSeries runner-up made history in 2009 when she became the youngest ever female driver to compete in the Formula Renault UK Championship. A year later, Alice was the first woman to win a Formula Renault Championship race. WSeries schedule for this weekend starts on Friday, 22nd July, with a 30-minute practice session at 10:40 a.m. local time CEST, followed by qualifying from 1925 to 1955 on the same day. It's going to be an early one for me on Friday. And on the same day, the race starts at 14:50 on Saturday, the 23rd of July, and will be 30 minutes plus one lap. British fans can watch the fifth race of the 2022 W Series season live from Circuit Paul Ricard on Sky Sports F1 from 13:30 BST on Saturday, July 23rd, with qualifying live on Sky Sports F1 at 18:15 BST on Friday, the 22nd of July. Highlights of the race will be on Channel 4 at 9 British Standard Time on Sunday, July 24th. Also, that means that just take this into consideration. Like I said, well, no, not necessarily. Practice will most likely be on YouTube for everybody, or at least in the US. And qualifying will most likely be either on ESPNU or ESPN News for Americans. And then just taking into account what time I read, and that would be about right. And there it is. W Series practice will be streamed live globally across our YouTube channel from 9:40 BST on Friday, 22nd of July. The action can also be seen across W Series digital and social channels, as well as being broadcast in more than 175 territories, with a full list available here. And that is on their website. Dave Ryan, racing director, W Series, said Jamie Chadwick is full of confidence at the moment and proving why she has won 2 W Series titles. Her approach to our race weekend so far this season has been very professional and impressive, and it's helped her be consistent when she gets on track. The chasing pack has a tough task on its hands to stop her, but anything can happen starting this weekend at Circuit Paul Ricard. Like last circuit we raced at, Silverstone Paul Ricard is fairly flat. It features big runoff areas, and its 15 corners are a pretty even mix of high, medium, and low speed. Hence why it's a popular testing venue. W Series hasn't been to Le Castillet before, but some of the drivers have. So given that and the fact we're at the halfway point of the season now, I expect them to hit the ground running this weekend. Well, yeah, I agree with everything that he says halfway through. And the way that Jamie Chadwick takes every single race weekend has been so professional, even though she knows she can be at the next level. And like I said, pointed it out big time with that. Jamie Chadwick has run here before, and she did run with the Formula Regional European Championship. And most other drivers, too, that have ran in that Formula Regional Championship, which to me, again, I feel like that was that next step. Not to mention that you do go on to another step, which would be Formula 3. So that is her next car, basically. Her next open wheel performer to run that. She better be signed at the end of the season. 3 straight W Series titles. Yeah, predicting the future when you have over a 50-point lead, or just over a 40-point lead, actually. Unless she starts to DNF her races, I'd be shocked that that were to happen. And then Abby Pulling were to win. That would be crazy. Basically, I wouldn't be shocked if Abby Pulling wins this season. I'd just be shocked if Jamie Chadwick were to start to DNF. But as I said before, yeah, she's raced in those series. She's raced here before. Mike Skavissa raced in the European Le Mans series here, practiced here. A lot of drivers have as well. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. Now, what does Alice Powell have to say about this? The Click to Drive British Street Motors Racing W Series Team 29 years of age in the UK. What did she have to say? Well, Alice Powell said this. It's going to be Alpine's biggest Grand Prix of the year, so in terms of my link to the team, it's a weekend I'm looking forward to. However, I've never driven at Paul Ricard before, so it's totally new to me, and I'm learning it on the simulator. Miami was the last track where that was the case, but that was a brand new circuit, so all of us were in the same boat. Lots of the drivers this season, or lots of the drivers around me in the championship standings, have been to Paul Ricard before, so I'm on the back foot and expecting it to be one of the toughest races of the season. It looks like one of the hardest tracks on the calendar because there are a lot of corners. There are lots of corners, a wide range of corners, fast, medium, and slow speed, and lots of things to learn. The weather will be hot, and after France, we go straight to another hot race in Budapest. So the next couple of weeks will test our bodies, and fitness will be important. Very true with the fitness. Even though theirs are just sprint races, 30 minutes plus a lap, you have to take into consideration the heat. No matter what, that heat gets you. You look at the longest race of the season where only one driver can race in it, and that falls to NASCAR. NASCAR during the Memorial Day weekend, to be exact, the 3 biggest races of that day, starting with Monaco, then the Indy 500. Well, the worst one is none other than the World 600, or the Coca-Cola 600 to be exact. And why I bring that race up so much is because, well, it's grueling on your body. You have to be fit. It's a 600-mile race. You're going through the heat, not necessarily the heat of the day, but around 4 p.m. their time, or 4 p.m. local time, kind of. And it's still pretty hot. It's still around the 90s. And then it gets to the evening time, and the evening time is only going to drop around to the 80s. So your car temperature is still going to be close to around 100 degrees for the whole entire race. It's going to last a long time for you to have that, just for you to have the heat. So all those drivers have to be physically ready. I remember the pandemic season was the craziest one because they went from one racetrack to another, to another, to another. And it was like Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, a lot of those races. And why I bring that up too is because drivers were saying, we lost a ton of weight. So you have to be extremely hydrated throughout those two. And yeah, you travel, you need to stay hydrated, you need to stay fit. The endurance level has to be high for these drivers. And again, theirs are only sprint races, but I feel like with sprint races, you're going to go harder for a lot less time. So you're going to feel more worn out, I think, than a driver who were to do a very, very long race that conserves it all the way up until the end. I think a lot of drivers, no matter what, do it at the end of their stint. But you have to guess those drivers with just 30 minutes of practice, 30 minutes of qualifying, and 30 minutes plus a lap of a race, they're going to push their butts off for both of those. So they're going to be feeling it that next day and knowing, okay, I've got to get back on the grind. I might need to take 1 day of rest for my body. But even then, what am I going to do? I'm going to be studying the next track that they've been to, and just about everybody on that calendar has been to. So it's just a lot of that. It's a lot of that grit. But yeah, it's been a pretty awful season so far, and the championship standings sum it up really. It reminds me a little bit of 2019 where things don't seem to be going my way. The DNF in Miami was my fault, but in Barcelona, I had issues with the brakes all weekend. Then at Silverstone qualifying wasn't too bad, and I had a big fight with the track limits before eventually getting my lap back, as it shouldn't have been deleted. But in the race, I suffered with low voltage to my gearbox, and it wouldn't select gear. It wouldn't select gear on the start. I can't say I'm looking forward to the next two races because things have been going poorly, and just when I think I'm moving forward, something else comes along and kicks me back down. So it's tough. Winning the championship is going to be difficult. Now I need Jamie Chadwick to have some bad luck like I've had for me to catch her. I'll just try to collect as many points as possible. Really sums it up. I mean, she knows what she's going through. I couldn't have said it better myself. Unlucky. She knew that she lost a lot of positions at the start of Miami. That's why she pushed, and that's what she even came out after the race and said. Losing all those positions made it very difficult for her to try to get back up. And then she pushed and hit the wall and DNF'd her race car in race 1. And just things like that. Yeah, it does feel like 2019 for her. I remember watching the highlight video of the 2019 series, which if you have not on WSeries, on their YouTube page, I do recommend doing that because it was such a phenomenal season. It had everything you wanted in a 6-race sprint to the finish season. Alice Powell just had so much bad luck. It was the same thing with Emma Kimalainen too that season. It's just a lot of drivers that are having a bit of bad luck this season. I felt like they had bad luck in 2019. And again, top 10 had to finish inside the top 10 at the end of the season, or else they'd get booted or have to reapply for the next year. While everybody did not expect a full pandemic to ruin that for a lot of drivers. But moving on. What does Belen Garcia have to say about this next race up in France? Well, we'll take a look at what she says from Point Fury Racing, WSeries team, 22 years of age, from España. And real quick, actually, before I say that, since she is from España and Nerea Marquez and Marta Garcia is just wanted to search up España national team, women's national team. Well, in the UEFA Women's Euro, real quick, they are England's up 2-1 in the 105th minute for the quarterfinal. So England just down by a goal, but it's going to take, or England up by a goal, but it's going to take some miracle for Spain to come back and probably tie. Either way, when we continue on, I just wanted to bring that up since, Belen Garcia is from there. It just reminded me of that game, to be exact. Well, from Quant Fury Racing, what did she have to say? Paul Ricard is like my second home. I've raced and tested there more than at my local track in Spain, so it's very familiar to me. In 2019, I raced in Spanish F4 alongside Nerea Marti. And last year, I did Formula Regional there. And those races went well. In Spanish F4, it was only the second round of the championship. It was only the second round of the championship. And I started to understand the tires and had good race pace. So I have good memories of Paul Ricard, and I'm confident I'll be fast there. Right now, I'm looking for results in the top 6. In Miami, I had a 4th place. I've finished in the top 8 in every race so far, so maybe I could be on the podium. But I want to be realistic and not put too much pressure on myself. The season so far hasn't been bad, better than last year, and I feel stronger. I hope to keep improving, keep fighting, and I'm looking forward to some good battles with the other drivers. I think Paul Ricard will be a good track for that, and the fans will enjoy our race. Paul Ricard is a circuit where you need to nail some corners in order to not lose time in the next part because it has big straights, so you have to be precise. And I'm optimistic that, again, coming from Belen Garcia from Quant Fury Racing WSeries team, 22 years of age from España. That's what she said. That's the end of the article. Would have liked to see would have liked to see more quotes from every single driver. Of course, you can only have so many drivers for media and things like that, but it's interesting to see that, the top 3, they did get they did not get quotes from Jamie Chadwick. I just noticed that. They got quotes from Dave Ryan, the racing director of WSeries. They got quotes from Alice Powell and Belen Garcia, but they did not get quotes from the leader. Yeah, they did not get quotes from the leader in the championship nor second place in third. So pretty interesting to see about that, because I would have liked to get their thoughts about their the race coming up and things like that. But as they did mention, what's the weather going to be like in Le Castillet? So I misspelled that for a second there. Le Castillet, yeah, F1. Weather. And this is what it's predicting for the race weekend as it gets closer and closer to this race weekend, to be exact. Here, Le Castillet, France today, and tonight and tomorrow's weather. That's the biggest thing, is what are we going to see? So, yellow warning for extreme high temperatures. Guess what? It's 78 degrees Fahrenheit in France at the moment. Feels like 76. Oh my goodness, that is gorgeous. Winds are west southwest at 9 miles per hour. Wind gusts are 15 miles per hour. Um, Air quality is very fair. The mold is high. The arthritis is low. That's what it's telling me. And golf is ideal. If you're in France, golf is ideal. Tonight's forecast, though, it's supposed to get down to 69 degrees. It's going to be its low for Fahrenheit. Tomorrow's weather forecast is supposed to be 87 degrees Fahrenheit. That's going to be the real feel. It's going to be 91 degrees. So not too bad, but wanting to know about the next day. Daily. There we go. Missed that for a second. Yeah, including, everybody getting a big heat wave. If that's their heat wave, count me in. Count me in for that heat wave, man. It's gorgeous. I know that they're close to the mountains, so that definitely helps, them being around the French Alps. Sunshine and comfortable is Wednesday. 87 degrees Fahrenheit, 69 degrees Fahrenheit for a low on Thursday. 0% chance of rain all throughout the weekend. Friday, 83 degrees Fahrenheit with the 68 degrees. Nice with plenty of sunshine. So bring your sunscreen if you are going to the race or going to be out around Le Castillet. Saturday, a little bit of humidity, but 84 degrees Fahrenheit, again 69 degrees Fahrenheit for the low, 1% chance of rain. I wouldn't be shocked if even in Celsius, what the temperature is. I could pretty much figure it out because I know 30 degrees, that's around 90 to 100, maybe a little bit less than that, but it's pretty hot when it gets up to 30. I know that. 40 degrees, that is for sure 100 plus. Yeah, like today for where I live, it's like 40. Yep, there you go. That's not fun. That is not fun at all. Oh, man. Of course, Fahrenheit on a scale of 1 to 100, how hot is it? I'll update you all on how hot it is around where I live, to be exact. So, around where I live, it is 99 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius. So, yeah. 42% humidity. I don't know what it feels like, though. The high today was 100. Tomorrow's is 101. So it's bad, but we've had worse. We've had worse. Oh man. But yeah, the lows for us are gorgeous in my opinion. Like the evenings are great. 79, 78, classic old 26, 26, 26, 25, 26, stuff like that. It's around where I live. But point is, they say it's going to be a hot one, probably for the track temperature, but in my opinion, yes, it'll get hot in the car, but it's, for the most part, nice weather. And I'm looking forward to the race. Tire wear might be a thing, though, with the Hankook tires, so you might see a lot of drivers, they'll use their one set of tires, they'll go out maybe with, a lot of drivers that have raced at this track, maybe they'll go out with 20 minutes, they'll spend around 10 minutes kind of just tinkering with their setup, and then they'll go out there trying to save a little bit and then push and learn the track and see how fast and how strict the track limits are going to be. And then moving on to I think in qualifying, for especially those drivers, they'll run the first 10 minutes of qualifying with those same sets, and then they'll change those sets on for the later run to try and boost their chances of having a lot better tire wear than the next person ahead of them on the grid or behind them on the grid when it comes to race time on Saturday. It's going to be a lot of playing games like that for sure, and I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. And passing might be limited. Passing might be limited because especially down the back straight, you're going to want to stay in one line. Down the front stretch, I think, is where you're going to see the most passes, especially due to corner number 1 being a chicane. It's you go in, then it's like that. Basically, I'm trying to do it like a mirror. So, yeah, you will pull in and then go, crazy little way. But fun track, stinks at the same time, but it's okay in my eyes. So that's really all I got to say on this. It should be exciting. Should be an exciting racing expected. We'll come back, like I said, we'll come back Friday. Friday is going to be our biggest day because we'll get to cover what the heck happened in practice and qualifying and make our predictions for the race early. A little too early predictions for me, though, for just the top three. Top three, I think. I know I do this every week, so I'm not going to, just to see if it actually, works. Jamie Chadwick will get her 7th straight victory, but then it's going to be Abby Pooling and Alice Powell will upset with a podium. This being, of course, her first race, but it's convinced her 4th place, Belen Garcia 5th. And I know that I only wanted to do the podium, but how about 2 off the podium? I think that would be fair. That's my way too early predictions just for that, but we'll see after qualifying and after qualifying and practice and qualifying, we'll see where everybody stands, and we'll have a better picture of how good everybody will be most likely for race pace. But then again, qualifying is not always just racing. So we'll wait and see. It's going to be fun. I cannot wait. Once again, this is just to end the podcast, but yeah. Thank you all so very much for listening. If you did like this, feel free to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And I do these live every single race that they have it. Thank you all so very much for watching. And see you all later.